Hello everyone, this afternoon on the marketplace, over 90% of cocoa bills tendered for debt exchange program.
Have been extremely successful with the current tendering of more than 90% for cocoa bills of 7.9 billion cedis.
Also coming up, South African petroleum company PetroSA expected to announce the production of its first oil from the Jubilee field next month.
Production from that particular, there's additional production that we're anticipating as a result of the well work that has taken place. I think that's the value we are highlighting. So it shows the sustainability in that investment and also commitment to growth and a longer term outlook in terms of the partnership itself.
Meantime, global oil prices are expected to stabilize around $84 a barrel for the rest of the year, according to Fit Solutions. We'll tell you what it means for developing economies like Ghana.
Oil prices have come down a great deal, and we think they'll remain relatively stable over the remainder of 2023 and into 2024. So oil prices stabilizing at around $83, $84 per barrel.
My name is Daryl Kwawu. Thanks for joining us. Details coming up. Thanks for staying with us, everyone. First up, over 90% of cocoa bills have been tendered for exchange in the new Government of Ghana debt exchange program. This has been described by some financial observers as a huge success for the state as it looks forward to use the proceeds to finance other cocoa purchases. Minister of State at the Ministry of Finance, Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam, disclosed this at the International Taxation Conference in Accra. Yes, more.
Government announced the exchange of almost 8 billion cedis to refinance cocoa purchase for the next season as Cocoa Board makes arrangement to raise more funds. According to the Minister of State at the Finance Ministry, Dr. Amin Adam, it has been successful and a signal of some recoveries to be made in the domestic market.
We have been extremely successful with the current tendering of more than 90% for cocoa bills of 7.9 billion cedis. And US dollar exchange of $809 million. And detailed announcements will flow through when the settlements are done.
Speaking of the country's revenue mobilization drive, economist at the Institute for Statistical, Social and Economic Research, Professor Charles Aka, urged government to pay attention to export-driven commodities in order to improve foreign earnings.
We need to have a discussion on how to go back to the situation where the Asian countries are, where the trade balance is positive, meaning that government is investing in industrialization, import substitution, so that we eat what we produce and stop our import dependence, and then we export more to get more revenue and get more remittances so that we can pay for our import without going to the international capital market.
In other news, South African petroleum company PetroSA is expected to announce the production of its first oil from the Jubilee field next month. The company began its negotiations for the acquisition of an equal split in the interest held by GNPC subsidiary Jubilee Oil Holdings Limited early this year, amidst controversy that the deal might not be in the interest of Ghana. However, speaking to JoyNews on the sidelines of the 15th BRICS summit in Johannesburg, South Africa, Group Chief Executive of PetroSA, Sandiswe Nsimane, noted that the South African firm is committed to the new partnership in Ghana, adding that the benefits spread across board for all parties.
We are committed to the partnership in Ghana. We continue to work with our fellow colleagues and partners, including the Ghana National Petroleum Company, to ensure that the solutions that we pursue together lead to a benefit across the board. I'm encouraged that among the areas we are partnering on, we are due to announce the first oil in September, so we'll be part of that. And I think, again, it's highlighting the value of the collaborations on the exploration and production side. So I think that's really positive, and it's something we should not shy away from also celebrating. I believe that the opportunities are also across other parts of the value chain. Downstream business, for one, I think provides an opportunity. With me here is also our group executive, who leads our international business. And there's been a lot of focus around how we support the downstream business and sector in Ghana. And I think that's a space as well that we want to expand through partnerships, just to mention a few.
So you're willing to invest more?
Indeed, I think partnerships require investments. They also require that we understand, as we bring ourselves together as partnerships, what is the value proposition we are bringing forward? What is the outlook in the immediate term and as well as the longer term? I think those are some of the areas of alignment that become important to be able to harness the partnership.
Talking about the very first production that's happening, how many barrels are we doing, and will you show up the numbers based on the very first?
Indeed, so perhaps the context is there is already production from that particular, there's additional production that we're anticipating as a result of the well work that has taken place. I think that's the value we are highlighting. So it shows the sustainability in that investment and also commitment to growth and a longer term outlook in terms of the partnership itself.
Well, joining us on Zoom is Dr. Sulimana, who is an energy strategist, also CEO of Eureka Energy Solutions. Good afternoon to you. We just heard from the group CEO of PetroSA. How upbeat should we be about the oil firm's expected announcement of oil production from the Jubilee field next month? First oil, for that matter.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Daryl. Good afternoon to you and your cherished viewers in Ghana and across the globe. Indeed, I mean, that should be a very welcoming news. Though when this whole thing started, it shrouded with a lot of controversies. And my understanding is that, I mean, it's beginning to cool off, and probably the Energy Ministry, they are now trying to agree or understand what's going on. Daryl, if you ask me where I sit, I will always tell you that if at this moment in time, we keep on dissipating our shares in terms of diluting whatever that we hold, in the long run, it's a very big disadvantage to us. Our oil price is around 84 now. Assuming we had majority shares, Daryl, and we are able to commercialize that, that is going to be a huge benefit to the states. That's number one. However, I also want to believe that I want to give them benefit of the doubt in the sense that Daryl, there's no need holding shares when you can commercialize it. And so if you can get, a credible partner with the financial wherewithal and the technical capability to partner with you to be able to commercialize the wells or the production, I think it's the way to go. But my number one priority is for Ghana to gravitate to become a standalone operator. And becoming a standalone operatorship means that you need to hold some substantial amount of shares. We haven't done that over the years. And so I get a bit disturbed and a bit worried if I see that we are beginning to dissipate our shares or dilute our interest in whatever that we are already holding. That's my piece of it. However, like I mentioned, if you look at the industry requires certain things to survive. I just mentioned that one, the technical know-how, and number two, the financial wherewithal. And I think the financial wherewithal, I always say that that is paramount. Even if you don't have the financials, and if you have the financial without the technical know-how, you can always go and buy it. And so it is early this year. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt to see whether we can get substantial amount of oil coming out from this. And the other good thing I like about it is the fact that, I mean, this is a continental issue. I mean, Africa to Africa. And I always say that apart from we trying to, develop ourselves, I mean, intercontinental-wise, there is a huge benefit that we can harness our resources together, to do. So if South Africa from a continent of Africa can actually partner with GMPC, our national oil company, and it's a win-win game, then there's nothing wrong with that. However, I always want to say that let's make concerted effort to gravitate to a standalone operatorship. Partnership like that doesn't stop us from becoming a standalone operatorship. Only we just need to make sure that whatever commercial that comes from it, let's make concerted effort to reinvest, to build our route, a robust route towards becoming a standalone operatorship. Because at the end of the day, the stakes that you have will guarantee how much your earnings or your return earnings are going to be at the end of the day. Daryl.
All right, yeah, and you mentioned the controversy. Well, she addressed it. She said the latest acquisition of an equal split in the interest held by GMPC subsidiary Jubilee Oil Holdings is structured in a manner that will yield mutual benefits for all partners, involved in the deal. Now, we are learning that the differences may have been ironed out, paving way for PetroSA to now proceed with its commercial activities. And so looks like they've ironed out their differences.
Yes, and that's great. I don't know what differences. If you look at the first interview I granted you on this, what I mentioned was the fact that, they needed to be very transparent in whatever deals, because at the end of the day, you remember, even the Ministry of Energy didn't have any so much idea about what is going on. And so this is an area which is capital intensive, and the stakes are very high. So if a deal of such mammoth nature is emanating and people don't know much about it, it is only natural that people will conjecture. But if you come out very clear, to state what benefit that Ghana is supposed to gain in this situation, then everybody will buy into it. But going forward, what I want to ask is, I don't know I've not been hearing in recent times about Exploco. I've now been hearing about Jubilee Holdings, another vehicle. I hope we don't leave Exploco to just become passive, because Exploco is also a vehicle of GMPC that hitherto should have been able to champion the E&P business of GNPC. And through Exploco, I think we can gravitate to that stand-alone operatorship. But in recent times, I get so worried to the fact that I don't hear much about Exploco. And I don't want GNPC to upload everything and only wait for a return to come from somewhere. Let's work towards gravitate to become a stand-alone operator. And I think that's where we can maximize our returns. But however, with respect to this deal, I think we only have to give it time to stay. And we hope that, like she's saying, if the first oil comes from it to increase our production portfolio, why not? This is the best time we can maximize whatever oil that is on the ground as much as possible. We hit the ground when the ground is still hot, oil prices are within the 80s. That is very good for upstream players. So if you can churn out more oil, it is going to lead to high returns, to the nation Ghana.
And another deal that is raising controversy is the GMPC Gensa deal. CSOs are criticizing the Parliamentary Committee for Mines and Energy for endorsing the deal. Your thoughts on the latest happenings?
Yeah, so I haven't studied the deal and I haven't followed the news quite closely. But what I will say is that Gensa, for sure, I know they are local players and they are a force to reckon with. And when I saw that they were trying to build about 110 kilometers pipeline, I was so encouraged because that's always what I want us to gravitate towards for us to take our destiny into our own hands, to industrialize. But that doesn't mean that whatever the CSOs are coming out with, there's no substance in it. I don't know the details. But what I will say is that my understanding is that they've already had some meetings, and I think it didn't end up well. So what I will urge is, it could be possible that the computation that GMPC is using or with Gensa, as well as what the CSOs are using, there might be some discrepancies. Why don't they sit down and understand each other? At the end of the day, what I want to avoid, what I want us to look at, what I want us to stay away from is to make actions that will discourage local participants from investing into the scene. If I stand without looking at the deal, I always say that Gensa, I think they are doing so well, and to build such a pipeline as a local company, a private company, a Ghanaian-owned company, I think it's commendable. However, I'm not discounting what the CSOs are saying. We are always looking for value for money. But even that, as we speak now, LNG price, natural gas prices are going down. They are now, it's not even sold below 2.5 million British thermal units, barrels per million, dollars per, $2.5 per million British thermal units. So if my understanding is that this deal was signed and the amount they paid was about 2.79, I don't know whether this was the cost of pipeline was encapsulated or not. If the cost of construction of the pipeline was encapsulated, then we need to look at it. To give them the chance to develop the base, to create job opportunities. However, if whatever doubts that the CSOs are having, and I always know that Imani and ASTEP, they don't come in a vacuum. They always do diligence before they come out with anything that they put across. And I always commend them for that. So what I'll urge is that the Mines and Energy Commission could sit down again with Imani, these CSOs. Everybody wants the interest of Ghana. Everybody wants Ghana to progress. So if they sit together and understand whatever computation that they are using, so that these discrepancies, again, what has been ironed out previously with this other deal, I'm sure probably it will iron out also. But what I want to say is that let's encourage these local guys who have come, and I know even this pipeline construction, they're using a lot of local hands to be able to do that. And they're empowering a lot of local hands. So let's look at this holistically and see the value creation aspect of it. And if you look at that, maybe we can trade off certain aspect of it, but not to shortchange Ghana completely. That's not what I'm saying. But we look at holistically to ensure that, I mean, whatever value is going to create, it to inure to the benefit of the nation Ghana.
One more thing I want to pick your thoughts on. Fitch projecting oil prices to stabilize around $84 a barrel for the rest of the year. According to Fitch Solutions, this will impact on inflation. Take a listen to John Ashbourne, who is global economist at Fitch Solutions, and I'll pick your thoughts at the other side.
Oil prices in dollars per barrel. Obviously, a huge peak in 2022 with the Russian invasion of Ukraine and subsequent shock. Since then, oil prices have come down a great deal, and we think they'll remain relatively stable over the remainder of 2023 and into 2024. So oil prices stabilizing at around $83, $84 per barrel. This shows the change in commodity prices in each of these years compared to the year preceding it. So in 2022, the average price in 2022 compared to the price in 2021, in 2023 compared to 2022, and so on. And the shape is relatively similar, which is to say that prices of most commodities jumped very dramatically in 2022. That's most obvious in the case of coal and European natural gas prices. Prices then fell in 2023 and will be rising a very small amount in 2024. So the push from commodity prices is very negative on inflation this year. It'll be slightly positive in most cases next year, but not by very much.
Yusuf, we've got just a minute. What are the chances that this would happen?
Yeah, so the chances are that I think it could. I remember I told you that if you look at what is keeping the oil prices, I mean, if power should have been heading towards 90s, had it not been China, I mean, the data emanating from China being so weak. But however, I always projected that these oil prices would likely stay in the 80s for a very long period of time. It was just in the 70s because of certain reasons. Now it came back to the 80s, and I think OPEC will not relent the effort in getting it back, to the 70s. What does it mean for consuming nations such as Ghana? I think it's always a double-edged sword for us. We operate upstream and we operate downstream. And that's how come I always recommend that let's link up this upstream and downstream together, similar to Daryl, where we can cascade the benefit in two ways. Other than that, we're always going to be complaining whenever oil prices settle in levels that will hit the downstream. We want it at 80s, which is very good for upstream. But of course, in 80s, Daryl, I think it's going to put further pressure on the downstream. And I think it's going to have a bit of impact on inflationary, a bit of pressures on inflation, or it's going to have a bit of inflationary pressures. But however, if it's stable at 83, 84, that is fine, but it's still going to have some bit of inflationary pressures, because that will mean that the downstream is still going to be very hot. Daryl.
Thank you so much. Dr. Yusuf Sulimana is an energy strategist, also Chief Executive Officer of Eureka Solutions, an energy consultancy firm. Now, let's turn to other news. The Ghana Standards Authority is urging the general public to ensure that products have the right certifications when making purchases to avoid buying fake products. According to a scientific officer at the Ghana Standards Authority, Francis Mensah, customers must ensure that they purchase products that have the right certification. He was speaking at a seminar organized by Signify, producers of Philips lights.
Signify, leading producers of Philips lights and bulbs, organized a seminar to grow professional and respective footprints to drive value in the lighting industry. The lighting industry has evolved over the years with the emergence of LED retrofit lamps. According to a scientific officer with the Ghana Standards Authority, Francis Mensah, customers must ensure that they buy products from accredited institutions with traceable sources.
So what we tell customers and consumers are that you have interest in purchasing a product, one, buy from a traceable source. Are you buying from a tabletop seller or you are buying from a recognized seller? So buying from a recognized seller it is a traceable source. In the event where you have issues with your product, you can go back to the same source. But when you are buying from a tabletop, you go back there, the table is not there, the seller is not there. Products are supposed to be marked with manufacturer's information and probably the local distributor. So you look out for that. Those that do not have that, then take receipt that you can contact the distributor or agent in the case of a problem.
Product manager at Signify, Masiej Deboski, also indicated that they are committed to ensuring that customers get quality and efficient lights at affordable prices.
I think the key element is to keep the balance between the quality and the long lasting of the products, but also to meet the customer expectations regarding the budget, right? So that's the key game, that's the key kind of challenge that we are having. So this is where the lighting becomes more than just the lighting, because the additional services that we are providing with the lighting infrastructure are enabling you to minimize those costs and to basically give you the return on investment or the payback time being as short as 1 to 3 years. In some very specific applications, we can even consider 1 year, if not less.
Signify also reiterated their commitment towards supporting underprivileged and underserved communities by enabling access to lights.
We are taking you next to the Upper East region, where the Busa North Municipal Assembly has presented startup equipment to 38 hairdressers, seamstresses and tailors who have completed their apprenticeships to enable them start their own businesses. The presentation was made under the Support for Self-Employable Skills project, which is part of the Assembly's local development agenda. Correspondent Albert Sori has more.
The startup kits included 19 manual sewing machines, 2 electric sewing machines, 10 hair dryers, and 9 sets of luxury hair washing facilities. They were acquired and presented to these newly trained hairdressers, seamstresses, and tailors to enable them set up their own businesses, generate income for themselves and their families, and hopefully take on some new apprentices. Municipal Chief Executive for Busa North, Vida Anap, said the provision of the startup kits was under the Support for Self-Employable Skills project, which is part of government's local development agenda.
The purpose is to help the youth to continue with the work they are already doing. Those who are starting, they should use this in learning the skill, and those who are finished can continue using it, the machine, the sewing machine, and then the tailors to help themselves. And with that one, the poverty level will reduce, because there are a lot of challenges within the communities here. Government cannot really go around and give everybody money. But then, if you are a skillful person, you are self-employed, like a tailor, so what I'm wearing is 100 Ghana. The tailor who showed it, and she's among them, she collected 100 Ghana. So you can imagine in a day, you show this about 3 or 4, and see the money you are making. And so for that matter, at least that person has also got dependents, he has got his own children and so on, mothers and so on, can use that one to support the family. And then also those who are still training can also use the items, the equipment to help themselves.
She said the items were worth 93,776 Ghana cedis and were sponsored from the Municipal Assembly's Common Fund. It is hoped that this initiative will encourage more Busa North municipality youth to acquire employable skills in the vocational sector.
We've targeted 1 million Ghana cedis to use it. Again, we want to train the masons. Those who are already there, will support them with their equipment. Those who are training, yet into training, will support them with the equipment. That is masons, those doing welding, those doing tiles, and those doing, some kind of skillful job, we will help them to train them. And then we've not left out the dry season gardening. We still support both youth, men and women, to go into the dry season gardening. We now have a lot of water system in the place, so we will do that one to train them, give them training to go into the vegetable during the dry season.
The beneficiaries were excited that they could finally use their vocational skills to create employment for themselves.
I'm a hairdresser. I get washing machine. Me like this, I don't have that one. I've been using pan to wash. Sometimes, if someone comes to do washing, the person will bend the head down and wash. So I bet this time I get the wash and maybe I will get more customers because of I have washer now.
I'm a hairdresser in Sandema. The time that I don't have the washing bay, like the proper washing bay like this, someone will come, and when you are washing there is a challenge. Maybe the person will say my neck, my hot, but now I've got the relaxable washing bay. Now I hope that my customers will feel comfortable and my work to come.
The machine that they have given me, from today onwards, my customers will be comfortable. I will also be comfortable. I will wash the hair without the hair touching anybody. And those machines, there are some tubes that we will just connect so that we use those tubes into the water and just use it to do the washing, and it will be simple for me.
Reporting for Joy News, Albert Sori, Sandema.
All right, and that's our program this afternoon. Thanks for watching, everyone. More news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. Over 90% of cocoa bills tendered for exchange program. That was our top story today. Also trending on our website. This other story to do with network marketing. Players call for more sensitization programs, long-wage earners partners. One more story before we wrap up this afternoon. On the PetroSA deal, there will be benefits across board. Group CEO reacts to rip-off claim. myjoyonline.com/business. My name is Daryl Kwawu. Thanks for watching. We will be back same time tomorrow.